Alicia Walker always stood out, not because she tried to, but because she couldn't help it. She was the girl with the bold braids in high school, the one who wore lime green eyeliner on picture day, the one who played Cardi B on her headphones. While everyone else whispered Taylor Swift lyrics, and she didn't care. She was loud, she was black, she was proud. But the world? The world didn't always clap for that. Alicia grew up on the south side of Chicago. Concrete streets, corner stores with dusty shelves, and dreams that felt too big for the zip code. Her mom worked 2 jobs, her grandma raised her most days, and Alicia, she dreamed in colors no one else saw. Hair care ads never looked like her. Billboards never smiled back. Her textbooks never said, "You belong here." But still, she believed she did. "I'm going to run my own company one day," she used to say. To anyone, to everyone. People laughed, rolled their eyes, but Alicia just smiled wider. By the time she turned 23, she had a degree in marketing, a small apartment with squeaky floors, and a mountain of student loans whispering, "Better play it safe." So she did what everyone told her to do. She applied to companies with clean logos, slick websites, diversity. Statements written in perfect font, and after 42 rejections, one said yes, Millennium Creative, mid-size ad agency, downtown, high-rise windows. Casual Fridays that weren't really casual. She walked in on her first day wearing a burnt orange blazer, gold hoop earrings, and her natural curls in a twist-out she spent hours perfecting. Heads turned, not the good kind. Her manager's name was Claire. White. Polished. Always spoke like she was trying not to offend anyone. During Alicia's onboarding, Claire smiled and said, "We're really excited to have you here. Just a heads up. Our clients prefer things to feel sleek." Simple, clean, Alicia nodded. Didn't quite know what she meant, but it didn't take long to find out. In her first team meeting, Alicia pitched a campaign idea for a beauty brand. Bright colors, afro-textured models. Tagline, "Glow like you mean it." The room went quiet. Claire tilted her head and said, "It's fun, but maybe tone it down a bit. Our client base is more neutral." Neutral. The word stung, like her ideas had too much flavor, too much edge. Too much her. And it wasn't just the ideas. It was the way they looked at her clothes. The way coworkers said, "OMG, your nails are so loud. You're brave for wearing your hair like that. You're so articulate." Like being black and brilliant was surprising. Like style meant she wasn't serious. Like her very existence had to be shaved down to fit in the room. Alicia felt it. Every day. That quiet, constant pressure to shrink. Then, one Friday, Claire pulled her aside, smiling too much, voice too gentle. "Hey Alicia, just a little feedback. Some people are finding your energy a bit strong. If you want to really grow here, try to sound more polished. Maybe soften your tone. You'd go further if you acted more, well, you know, white." She said it. Maybe not in those exact words, but Alicia heard it loud and clear. Act white. The message wasn't new. She had heard it in school, in church, in stores where she was followed by security. But hearing it here, from a woman smiling in HR-approved lipstick, cut deeper than most. Alicia stood there, frozen. Not because she didn't know how to respond, but because part of her almost believed it. That night, she went home, took off the blazer, took off the earrings, took off the smile, and stared in the mirror. For a long, long time, her curls were still perfect, her eyes still sharp. But something inside her had cracked, and in that crack, one question whispered, "Do I change to fit them, or do I stay true and bet on me?" She didn't have the answer yet, but by morning, she would, and it would change everything. Saturday morning came. The city outside her window buzzed with noise, cars, sirens, people on the move, but inside Alicia's apartment, silence, No music, no emails, no makeup, no mask. She sat on the floor, legs crossed, barefaced, bare-souled. Her laptop sat closed. Her work phone still blinked. But she couldn't open either. Not yet. Not after what Claire said. Not after the way her coworkers smiled at her. Like her ambition was something to be corrected, not celebrated. She pulled out her journal. Pages, half filled with campaign sketches, dreams, doodles, and on the next blank page, she wrote 3 words. Act more white? She stared at them, circled them, underlined them, then crossed them out, hard, over and over until the page ripped. Because the more she thought about it, the more she realized. They didn't just want her to act white. They wanted her to be smaller, quieter, palatable. They didn't care about her story, her culture, her truth. They just wanted her safe. And Alicia Walker was never built to be safe. She was built to shine. By Sunday night, Alicia made a decision. She wasn't going to tone it down. She wasn't going to straighten her hair or edit her accent. She wasn't going to rewrite herself for a company that didn't read her right in the first place. She opened her laptop, typed up her resignation email, kept it short, professional, graceful, but the last line hit different. I'm not leaving because I couldn't fit in. I'm leaving because I was never supposed to. Send. Monday morning, she woke up free, terrified, but free. She had no job, no backup plan, but she had herself, and for the first time in a long time, that felt like enough. Over the next few days, Alicia slept late, cooked for herself, let her hair be wild, and then one night while twisting her curls before bed, she had an idea, a real one. What if, instead of asking the world to accept her hair, her voice, her style, she built something that told every black girl, you're not too much, you're exactly enough. That night, she pulled out her journal again. On a clean page, she wrote 1 word. Rooted, a brand, a movement, a promise, natural hair, natural voice. No apologies, no acting white, no shrinking, just truth. Bottled, branded, and bold. She didn't know how yet. She didn't have money. She didn't have followers. She didn't have investors. But what she did have was a kitchen, a camera phone, and the kind of fire they tried to dim, but couldn't. Not anymore. She didn't have a lab. She didn't have a logo. She didn't even have proper jars. But Alicia had a vision. And a mixing bowl. Rooted wasn't going to start in a boardroom. It was going to start in her kitchen. She pulled her hair back, rolled up her sleeves, laid out ingredients on the counter, shea butter, avocado oil, tea tree, aloe vera, things her grandma used, things that worked, real, raw, unfiltered. She wasn't building a brand for shelves at Sephora, not yet. She was building for the girl she used to be, the girl who stared at mirrors wishing her curls would cooperate, the girl who was told her coils were unprofessional, the girl who almost let them break her. She took a deep breath and started mixing. By 2 a.m., the first batch of Rooted curl cream was done. It wasn't perfect, but it was hers, and now it was time to share it. She didn't have a fancy camera. She had her iPhone, a $12 ring light from Amazon, and her living room wall. She pressed record, took a breath, and spoke. Hey y'all, my name's Alicia Walker. I'm not a chemist. I'm not rich. I'm not Instagram polished. But I am tired. She paused. Let it breathe. Tired of being told to act white. Tired of being told my voice is too much. That my hair is a distraction. That my joy needs to be managed. So I made something. Not to fix our hair, but to remind us it was never broken. She held up the jar, shaky hands, but steady voice. This is Rooted. No parabens, no lies, just ingredients that know where we come from and remind us where we're going. She clicked stop, uploaded, typed a simple caption. They told me to act white. I chose to act real. Rooted. Natural hair. Acting black is enough. And then she went to bed. She didn't expect anything. Maybe a few likes. A comment or two from friends. But when she woke up, everything had changed. Her phone was vibrating non-stop. TikTok notifications in the hundreds. Then thousands. She opened the app. Her video? 10,000 views. People weren't just watching, they were commenting, sharing, tagging friends. This hit my soul. I needed this today. Where do I buy? My whole childhood in one sentence. You're not alone. You're just early. By the end of the day, her video passed 1.2 million views. Her DM inbox? Flooded. Women asking for jars. Distributors asking for partnership. Bloggers asking for interviews. She stared at her phone, then stared at the mirror. Her curls were big, bold, untamed. So was her truth. And finally, people weren't looking away. They were leaning in. That night she made 47 jars by hand, labeled them with tape and a Sharpie, dropped them at the post. Office with shaking hands. Rooted was real now, not just in her head, not just in her kitchen, in the world. And it started, not when she acted white, but when she acted like herself. The orders didn't stop. Day 2, 94 jars. Day 3, 227. By the end of the week, over 800 units. Alicia's kitchen looked like a warehouse, boxes stacked to the ceiling, labels flying, her cousin helping after school, her mom driving 40 minutes, just to tape packages. Rooted was no longer a hobby. It was a movement. But while the outside world celebrated her rise, inside, Alicia was terrified. The emails started coming in. We love what you're doing. Would you be open to investors? Can you ship internationally? Can you speak at our Black Women in Business panel? Would you consider a licensing deal? Every message made her heart beat faster, not with excitement, with pressure. What if she wasn't ready? What if she messed this up? What if everyone realized she was just a girl with a ring light and a recipe, not a CEO? She barely knew what an LLC was. She didn't know how to price shipping internationally. She didn't even have a real logo yet. She was building a brand, but hadn't built belief in herself as a leader. One night, after a 16-hour day and burnt fingertips from pouring hot she into jars, Alicia sat on her couch, alone, notifications buzzing, her name trending in a niche corner of Black Twitter. A blogger had just posted, Rooted, the hair care brand you didn't know you needed until now. And yet, she felt like she was pretending. She opened her notes app, typed out, maybe I peaked too early. Maybe I'm not business material. Maybe I should have just acted white and climbed quietly. She stared at the screen. Then, she got a message from a woman she didn't know. Hey Alicia, I just used Rooted on my daughter for the first time. She's 5. Her name's Amira. She looked in the mirror and said, Mommy, I look like a queen. Thank you for making something that makes our babies proud of who they are. Alicia stared at that message for a long time, then closed her notes app without saving, because suddenly all the doubts felt smaller than the purpose. The next morning, Alicia got up early, before sunrise, before the buzz. She brewed tea, lit a candle, then opened her laptop, typed a new note. This time it said, You don't have to know everything. Just know why you started, and stay rooted in that. Then she wrote down the 3 things she did know. Her product worked. Her voice was real. Her audience wasn't buying perfection. They were buying truth, and truth doesn't require permission. Rooted's next drop sold out in 13 minutes. TikTok stitched her videos with tears. One user posted, I've never felt seen by a product before. Until now, still no investors, still no fancy PR. But Alicia was no longer doubting the fire in her hands. She was feeding it, fueling it, and finally, owning it. By month 6, Rooted wasn't just a brand, it was a statement, a movement. Alicia had launched her website, started weekly pre-orders, and brought on a small team of 3, all black women, all first-time employees, all people who knew what. It felt like to be told, tone it down, straighten your edges, try to sound a little more polished. Together, they didn't just sell product. They told stories, posted behind-the-scenes clips, shared messages from customers whose daughters, aunties, students, and salon clients were finally saying, "I love my hair." And then, one Wednesday, morning at 8:41 a.m., the kind of email you never expect landed in Alicia's inbox. Subject line, invitation to speak, Diversity and Inclusion Week. Millennium Creative. Her hands froze. Millennium Creative. Her old job. The agency that told her to act more white. The place where Claire smiled too tightly and shrank her spirit in 4 words. She opened the email. "Hi, Alicia. We've been following your journey with Rooted and are so inspired by your work. We would be honored to have you speak at our upcoming Diversity and Inclusion Week as our keynote speaker. The theme this year is Be Who You Are. Let us know if you're interested. Warmly, Emma, Director of People and Culture." Alicia almost laughed. Be who you are, at the very company that once told her to be anything but. She stared at the screen, heart racing. Part of her wanted to decline, another part wanted to show. Up not for revenge, for truth. To stand on that stage in her natural hair, her voice unedited, her story intact, and let them sit in it. Not out of spite. But so they'd never forget again. She replied with 3 words. I accept. Alicia. 2 weeks later, she walked into Millennium Creative. Same marble lobby, same elevator chime, same scent of overpriced hand sanitizer. But this time, she wasn't carrying a resume, she was carrying a mission. And the moment she stepped into the event hall, Claire saw her, hair big, blazer bold, earrings unapologetic. Claire's jaw actually dropped. For a second, Alicia thought she might come over, but instead, she just nodded from a distance, like someone recognizing a storm they once underestimated. The room filled. Employees took their seats, name tags, notepads, iced coffee cups. Then, please welcome our keynote speaker, Alicia. Walker, founder of Rooted, applause, polite. Until Alicia walked out, then it got quiet, real quiet, and that silence was power, because they remembered her, and they remembered what they said. She stood at the mic, took a breath, then spoke. A few years ago I was told to act more white. Not in those exact words, but it was clear. My voice? Too much. My hair? Too bold. My ideas? Too colorful. So I left, and I built a brand around everything I was told to hide. Rooted wasn't made to sell jars. It was made to remind women like me that we were never too loud. We were just too real for rooms that weren't ready. The crowd leaned in. Nobody blinked. Alicia looked around, at the same walls that once boxed her in, and smiled. Now, I don't walk into rooms to be accepted. I walk in to see if they deserve me. Mic drop? Not needed. The silence was the mic drop. Then someone clapped, then another. Then the whole room stood. And in the back corner, Claire, the woman who once told her to be more polished, was clapping too, tears in her eyes. That day, Alicia didn't just reclaim her story. She rewrote the ending, on her terms, in her voice, in full color. And from that moment on, every room she entered shifted. Rooted went global in its 8th month. A beauty influencer in the UK stitched one of Alicia's videos. Then a magazine in South Africa ran a full spread, the hair brand that refused to whisper. Within 24 hours, orders poured in from Canada, Brazil, Nigeria, Germany. Her site crashed, twice. She brought on a full operations team, moved into a warehouse space, hired a customer service lead, a product manager, a CFO. She was no longer shipping jars from her kitchen. She was running a company, and with each new hire, each new partnership, each glowing article, the voice in her head whispered louder, "Can I really do this?" She used to know every customer by name. Now she barely recognized the invoices. She used to film content on her couch. Now she had a full content team and a calendar booked 6 weeks out. She used to cry over 10 bad reviews. Now she scrolled past 1,000 comments in a day, but still stopped on the one that said, "This is all hype." Another gimmick brand riding the woke wave. The higher she climbed, the more critics showed up, and sometimes they looked like her. Black women who accused her of selling out, of being too commercial now, of not being the same Alicia from video number 1. And that hurt the most. Because she built this for them, for all the girls told to dim their shine, and now they were saying she was too bright. One night, she sat alone in her office. The warehouse was quiet. Everyone had gone home. She opened her laptop, watched her first video again, the twist out, the cracked wall, the ring light flickering. She barely recognized herself, not because she looked different, but because she had been lighter, freer, raw. She missed that version of Alicia, the one who didn't carry an entire company's weight on her shoulders, the one who didn't have to think about payroll, packaging delays, trademark battles, or social media algorithms, the one who just spoke her truth. Then she got a message. Not from a customer, from her cousin Amani, the same girl who used to help pack orders after school. "Cousin, I saw your Forbes cover, but you know what got me? I was in class today, and my teacher asked us to name a black woman entrepreneur. And the girl next to me raised her hand and said, 'Alicia Walker. You're not just a brand, you're a mirror. Keep going, even if you don't feel like you anymore. Because you're becoming who we need you to be.'" Alicia sat there. Tears rolled quietly, because sometimes you don't realize what you've become until someone else shows you. The next morning, she walked into the office early. Her team looked up, surprised. She was in sweats, no makeup, afro big and beautiful. She stood in front of the whiteboard, cleared it, and wrote 3 words, "Back to rooted." She turned to her team. "I know we've grown, but we're not here to chase numbers. We're here to chase impact." They nodded, some smiled, some clapped. And from that moment forward, Rooted wasn't just a rising beauty brand. It was a movement with memory, and a leader who wasn't afraid to get lost, as long as she knew how to come home. Alicia had spoken on many stages, TEDx, universities, podcasts with millions of listeners, even beauty summits with rows of celebrities in the front row. But this one felt different. The Global Women in Leadership Summit, Geneva. 5 days, 40 countries, thousands of leaders. And Alicia was the closing keynote speaker. Her name was on banners, lanyards, brochures. The girl who once stood in a kitchen with shea butter under her nails was now speaking to an arena of decision-makers, founders, executives, many of whom had never heard a black woman talk about business and culture in the same breath. The night before her speech, Alicia walked into the hotel lounge. She wasn't looking to talk to anyone, just needed tea. But as she waited in line, she heard a voice behind her. "Alicia Walker?" She turned. The woman smiling at her wore pearls, a tailored pantsuit, and that expression, the one people wear when they've just realized the underdog made it. And there she was, Dr. Eleanor Price, Alicia's old college advisor, the first person to ever tell her, "You're smart. But if you want to be taken seriously, maybe lose the hoops and the slang." Alicia had once walked into her office excited to pitch an idea for a culturally centered marketing campaign and left feeling like she'd asked permission to exist. That memory still sat in her bones. "I saw your name on the program, Dr. Price said. I almost didn't believe it was the same Alicia from Bennett. Alicia raised an eyebrow. "Oh, I'm still the same," she said softly. "Just louder now." Dr. Price laughed nervously. "Well, clearly it's working for you. I mean, look at you. Keynote speaker, brand founder, international face. I guess authenticity is trending these days." Alicia smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Authenticity isn't a trend," she said. "It's who I always was. Some people just took longer to see it." Dr. Price looked like she wanted to say something more, but Alicia didn't give her the space. She just said, "I hope you enjoy the talk," and walked away, shoulders high, hoops big, no apology in sight. The next day, the stage lights hit her like sunrise. She walked to the podium, held the mic, took her time, then began. "I was told to shrink, told to sand off the edges, told to code switch, speak softer, sit straighter, smile more. But the smaller I became for them, the further I got from myself. And when I finally stopped trying to fit into a mold that was never made for me, that's when everything changed." She looked across the crowd and saw Dr. Price. Front row, frozen. "You don't need to act white. You don't need to act anything but real. That's not branding. That's freedom." The crowd stood before she even finished. Tears, cheers, even some gasps. But Alicia, she didn't flinch. She had spoken her truth, and once again, the world had listened. Rooted was no longer a startup. It was a standard. Major retailers lined up to stock it. Celebrities posted about it. Salons across the US, the UK, and Ghana started requesting Rooted supply partnerships. One major cosmetics conglomerate made an offer. "We want to acquire 70% of the brand, $30 million valuation, global distribution, shelf space in 22 countries. It was massive. On paper, it was everything a founder could dream of. But Alicia didn't smile. She sat in that meeting, nodding politely. But inside, she felt cold. After the pitch, she met with her core team. Her CFO was excited. Her logistics manager had already started imagining factory upgrades. But her marketing lead, Zoe, one of Alicia's first hires, stayed quiet, Alicia noticed. "Say it," she said. Zoe took a breath. "If we sign this, Rooted won't belong to us anymore. They'll water it down, rebrand it for mass appeal. Our voice won't be the one telling the story." Alicia nodded. "I know." Then she whispered, "They tried to change me, once. I won't let them do it to what I built." That night, Alicia walked into her home office. The walls were covered in framed tweets, magazine covers, photos of customers holding Rooted jars in joy. She sat in the dark. No laptop, no camera, just silence and the question she couldn't shake. How big can you grow before you forget who you were when you were small? She thought about the first jar, the kitchen counter, the shaky video. She thought about Amira, the 5-year-old who said, "I look like a queen," and she realized Rooted was never built for investors. It was built for mirror moments, for the quiet victories, for the woman who just needed to know she didn't have to act white to be seen. The next morning, Alicia wrote her decision on a single page. No acquisition. No dilution. Rooted stays in black hands and black hearts. We scale on our terms. She sent it to the board. No apology, no explanation, just clarity and courage. Some people said she was foolish. Turning down legacy money. Missing her chance to be the next Oprah. But Alicia wasn't trying to be the next anything. She was trying to stay rooted, and in doing so, she became something even rarer. Trusted. Rooted launched a community ownership initiative. They gave equity shares to longtime customers, opened up micro grants for other Black beauty founders, trained students in product development and entrepreneurship. They didn't just sell products, they built platforms. They didn't just scale, They multiplied. And Alicia? She wasn't just the CEO. She was a lighthouse, a signal to every girl who'd ever been told she was too much, too loud, too ethnic, too different. Alicia stood tall and proved you don't have to change to win. You just have to own who you are, out loud. By year 3, Rooted had grown into something Alicia never could have fully imagined. Not just a business, not even just a brand, but a beacon. It lived in classrooms, barbershops, church halls. It lived in TikToks, in workshops, in whispered conversations, between mothers and daughters. It was in every "I love my hair" and every "she looks like me." It was in the mirrors that once made women flinch, now making them smile. And Alicia, she was tired, not in the way burnout feels, but in the way growth does. She had carried Rooted up the mountain. Now she needed to teach others how to climb. So, she started something new. Not a product, a program. Rooted Rise, a fellowship for young black women building in beauty, wellness, and truth. No Shark Tank theatrics. No make your pitch pressure. Just space, support, and money, with no strings attached. She read through over 900 applications, some written on phones, some from shelters, some with no business plan, just heart. One girl wrote, "I'm not sure where to start, but I know I've got something they've tried to silence, and I just want to build a world where I don't have to apologize for it." Alicia closed the laptop, wiped her eyes, and whispered, "That was me. Rooted Rise." Selected 10 women for the first cohort. They flew to Atlanta, sat in a sunlit room, surrounded by whiteboards, product samples, affirmation walls that read, "Loud is a language. Culture is currency. Shrink for no one." Alicia walked in wearing jeans, hoop earrings, and her hair in a sky-high puff. She didn't come to preach. She came to pour. She stood in front of the group and said, "I was told to act white, to tone down, to be less me. But I didn't shrink. I scaled." The women sat frozen. "And I'm not here to teach you how to be like me. I'm here to remind you that who you already are is more than enough to build something powerful. You're not too much. You're a blueprint." And in that moment, as the room filled with quiet tears, scribbled notes, and nervous smiles turning bold, Alicia realized Rooted wasn't just the brand. They were. Over the next few months, she met with each fellow personally, helped tweak pitch decks, sample scents, sourcing issues. And when people asked why she was giving so much time to others, she always said, "Because someone once told me to change, and instead I chose to build. I want these women to know you can choose that too." One of the fellows, a 19-year-old from Detroit, launched her first product 6 months later. It sold out in 2 days. She posted a photo of herself holding the bottle, captioned, "Rooted gave me the belief. Now I'm ready to bloom." Alicia saw it and smiled, not because it was her product, but because it wasn't. It was theirs now, and that was the point all along. Years had passed. Rooted was no longer just a name on a label. It was etched into classrooms, business awards, curriculums, and most importantly, into the hearts of those who once whispered their truth, but now spoke it boldly. Alicia sat on a panel at a university she once couldn't afford to apply to. She was introduced as entrepreneur, founder, global voice. But to the students in the front row, she was something else. She was proof that you could rise without dimming. During Q&A, a girl stood up, soft-spoken, twist out fresh, eyes wide. She clutched the mic like it was too heavy for her, but she asked anyway, "How did you know that staying true wouldn't cost you everything?" Alicia leaned in, didn't rush the answer, then said, "I didn't. I was scared. I questioned myself every day, but I realized if being accepted means abandoning who you are, then you're not being accepted. You're being edited. And I was not born to be anyone's draft version. The room went silent. No one checked their phones. No one looked away. Because sometimes the truth doesn't need volume. It just needs space. And Alicia had made space. For herself. And for thousands like her. Later that night, she walked alone through the streets of the city. No paparazzi, no fanfare. Just street lights and soft wind. She passed a beauty store window, saw a rooted display inside. Behind the glass, a poster of a little black girl smiling, hands in her curls. And Alicia stopped. She stood there for a long time. Not because she needed to be reminded of what she'd built, but because she wanted to remember what she never let them take, her voice, her joy, her identity. She smiled, whispered under her breath, "They told me to act white." But staying true made me whole. Then she turned and kept walking forward, as always, rooted and rising.